Hello, this is Joe Pryor, the virtual real estate team in Oklahoma City, and we are an investment specialist group that do business primarily in the Oklahoma City and the Tulsa major markets of Oklahoma. And, I've been doing investment real estate now for 33 years. In fact, it's all I do. I don't do listings. I don't put buyers who want to live in a home and a car. All I do is work with investors, and most of them are out of state. And, I've done a lot of public speaking in different parts of the country, a lot in California, to investment groups. And since, let's say, 2004, when the out-of-state investment started really going very, very strongly, and I started hooking up with groups, then what's happened is we said cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. In other words, one thing about Oklahoma City is consistency. That cash flow is always high. Appreciation, 3% per year, nothing like anything else in the United States, but very dependable. And so when I do a return on investment analysis to find out if I think something's good to invest in to recommend to you, I'm looking at, of course, the purchase price, I'm looking at the interest rates, I'm looking at the amount of money in closing costs that you're gonna put out. I look at what the rents are gonna be, the insurance, the taxes, homeowners association fees, vacancy rates, property management rates, all of those things, the kitchen sink, because if you leave something out that you can really screw up the numbers and make it look good, but in real life, you've got to have all those numbers in there. And so what I've always been dealing with for the last 18 years, I guess, or so, is that we're looking at about 16 to 20% annualized return on investment, what's called internal rate in investment, or a return, which is IRR, over, say, a 7-year period. And the cash flow, it's been very, very heavily weighted towards cash flow, and not necessarily towards appreciation. But what's happened in the last 2 years, so we're dealing with not 3% appreciation, we're dealing with 12.72, 13.76 for 2021 and 2022. Now, I don't use those numbers, by the way. I can't believe that we're going to have 13% appreciation going forward. I remember those days before 2008 when people said there was no tomorrow in Florida or Phoenix or wherever, and there was. And so we know that sometimes things are going to change, things are going to slow down, but you can't maintain an affordability index for any city if all it does is go up. And so normally what I'm doing now, instead of using 13, I'm using 6, which I think is now our reasonable appreciation rate over the next 7 years. But a fascinating thing happened because of the rise in the cost of houses and the rise of the cost of interest rates in terms of what it costs you to get a 30-year loan. Cash flow has really shrunk. It's shrunk probably at least 50%, depending on the price of the home. And that's a problem, right? Because we've been a cash flow market. But here's the interesting thing. If we take that lower cash flow, all the other numbers are the same. We take the higher price of the house, we take the higher interest rates, we put in, what the rent's going to be, which is, it's going up, by the way, it's going up 6 to 12%, but that's not quite as much as what the home appreciation is, the home prices are doing. But when we put in that 6%, that's compound interest. In other words, for every $100,000, so 6% would be 106. The next year, the 6% is on the 106, not on the 100. But what we come up with at the end of that 7-year period is actually a better return in terms of ROI. In other words, in terms of that IRR, it's now 18, 22, I've seen 24% because of appreciation. This is what it does for you, and this is the transition that's now happening in the Oklahoma City market. I want you to know that everything that we recommend goes through all of this. I get the real rates from the property manager. I get the real insurance from the insurance guy that we recommend. I get the HOAs. I get the interest rates updated every week. And so these numbers go into every calculation that we do. And we are going to recommend things that still at the end of a certain period of time, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, however you're going to hold it, gives you a high wealth position. The good news is, even with cash flows down because of prices of homes and interest rates, the IRR, that return on investment analysis, is actually up. And your profit, or the money that your wealth position creates at the end of that time, is actually greater.